And with that, we are official and we are underway. Welcome to your Cisco Live 2018, coming at you from beautiful Barcelona. My name is Steve Moulter, and along with my cohorts, Lauren Malhoit and Rob Boyd, we are going to be happy to talk with you throughout the course of the week and discuss everything taking place here in Spain throughout the week, beginning right away with that phenomenal keynote. What a way to kick off an incredible week here together, to get all of the themes moving together, some of the great things that Rowan had to talk to us about. The pace of change is going to be breathtaking, absolutely. Get started today, do not wait, and the tools that you need to get underway, they are available to you today. So for the 12,000 people who are here with us in Barcelona, they can get underway right off the bat, and for those 40,000 or so of you who are tuning in remotely on a variety of different channels through Cisco.com, EMEA, and all the way around the world, we welcome you as well. Take advantage of everything that is available to you. So much to talk about right away, right out of the gate. That keynote really set up that vision for today and that vision for the future. So we really do thank Rowan and all of his guests for helping to set that up. Some of the impressive things that we talked about. It's got to be intelligent. We can't just commit and produce in a vacuum. It has to be intelligent, it has to be secure. We can't utilize security as an afterthought. I thought that was a really important thing to kick off with right away. And that nobody else can rethink the underlying network in the way that Cisco can. Our vast depth and breadth gives us the ability to expand outward, place the investments where they need to go, and really move things along at an electric pace. I loved what we heard from the guys at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. I thought that was quite remarkable, how they are reinventing and rebuilding, and we're going to keep coming back to and touching on all of those different capabilities throughout the week. What I want to do is dive right into some great technology. I got a couple of guys up here on the stage with me. These are a couple of our great Cisco Champions. For those of you guys who do not know about the Cisco Champion program, it was designed to really create and to nurture a network of people who are passionate about Cisco, who bring a remarkable amount of knowledge and expertise into the field, and they're willing to share that information via social media and with us directly here at Cisco, and we rely very heavily on our Cisco Champions, and I got two of them here with me. Now, starting over here on my far left, this is Paul Giblin. He is Senior Solutions Architect with Presidio. Paul, thanks for being in with me today.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
And then directly to my side over here on this side, Tony Cuevas is here with us. Tony is practice lead for CDI. You guys, we're going to talk for the next few minutes here about Cisco Spark. I think there are probably 30 different directions that we could go in, but as long as we're together and we're going to talk about one of the technologies that is really prevalent here on the show floor, I think Spark is as great a place as any, because this is all about redefining that where, when, how, of how we get work done, how we connect, how we use an app-centric, cloud-based service to get the job done. Let's start by what you guys are going to be discussing here this week, what you're each really excited about. Tony, why don't you tell us what we're going to see when we stop by and we visit over at the Spark area?
You're going to see the Spark board. You're going to see how you can collaborate Spark with all of your different other different applications, integrations, some bots as well too, working with APIs. So there's a lot of cool things coming out.
Paul, what do you think?
You know, I think you've got a number of things, right? So there's the service itself, which is absolutely phenomenal, cloud-based, as you had mentioned, secure by default, which I think is something that you had already mentioned. The new endpoints are great, so I think folks who might not be familiar with the most recent updates are going to find some new stuff they'll be excited about. And you know, as mentioned earlier, DevNet's kind of critical here. So you know, thinking about bots, you're going to see that not only in the collaboration world, but you're going to see it in the dev world as well. So DevNet will play a large role there.
And this is in demand right now. I'm going to throw a few statistics at you guys that we're talking about throughout the week. We actually heard a couple of them quoted up during the keynote. But by 2020, 50% of the workforce is going to be millennials. That tells us a ton of what we need to know right off the bat. 50% are going to work remotely. 50% are going to be independent workers, vendors, non-employees of the company. How do technologies like Cisco Spark help to drive what really is the next generation of worker in any organization?
So I'll go ahead and jump in there. So for me, I work remotely a lot myself. I do have an office I report to, but you know, I have a DX80 that sits on my desk at home, and I don't use a VPN to connect back to the office to use that device. It goes out to the cloud, and it's connected to the cloud. So from an ease of use standpoint, it takes me almost no effort whatsoever to get that set up. 16-digit code, and my device is connected up and running using my home internet connection. All I have to do is tell it how to get on the wireless.
Yeah.
Same idea here too. I work remotely, and I also work on site at the office or actually at a customer site. And not only am I using I'll use a DX70, a DX80, but that's at home or at the office. But if I'm on site somewhere at a customer, I'm using my mobile app. I'm using my desktop client, so I can have a meeting and spark up a meeting just like that.
It's all BYOD. You know what, this brings up an interesting challenge, right? Because flexible work options, they're great. They're increasingly popular, people want them, the demand is there for them, but it sets us up for a potential downside, which is remote workers can tend to feel really disconnected. They can get lonely, they can feel siloed out there, so they need to be able to connect with their peers, their partners, their vendors, their customers, whether they're in their office or on the go. How does Spark allow that to take place?
I'll take that because, well, Spark also introduces a video. So it actually puts you right in front with your customers, with your other peers, so you can have a video conference with everyone so that you don't get that feeling of being siloed. So,
yeah.
So I think you had mentioned integrating with third parties. So when you're doing that, one of the challenges historically has been things like federation. With Spark, everyone is using the same cloud, they're using the same service. So you don't have that challenge. I can spin up a Spark space and I can have coworkers from my own organization in it, I can have my partners in it, and I can have my customers in it. So it really changes the way I bring a team together.
So if we talk about this as being maybe a culture of innovation, is that a good way to put it? Because if the transformation of the workplace is going to be successful, it means that we have to embrace things like greater flexibility, greater change, but that's scary to people. They don't necessarily want to go in that direction. Sometimes they have to be pushed a little bit. How do we invite them to take that step off the cliff?
It's challenging, I'll say. It's very challenging. The way that I do it, the way that we do it, is that we just start showing them. And just like you said,
the proof is in the knowledge. Come up.
The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Go for it. This is what we do. This is how it is. This is how it works. And then once they see it and once they play around with it, they're like, wow, this is amazing. Why aren't I doing this now? I was like, well, you can be.
Do you notice the same thing, Paul, that people come to you, you show it to them, and all of a sudden, you literally see the light bulb pop off?
So I see that fairly frequently with the folks that I speak to, but what it really takes to get people involved is ongoing evangelization, and that's part of what we do as Spark Ambassadors, is we educate people. And with any transition of any embedded tool, you're going to have to build a sustained campaign where you're engaged with not only technology savvy folks, but your everyday user, and you're going to have to teach them how to use these things and change the paradigm they work within.
Absolutely, absolutely. Guys, you're going to be hanging out all week here. People can come by, they can visit you in the Cisco Spark area. We said it before, the best way to see how this works, walk up, say hello, introduce yourself, and say, show it to me. Let me see how it works, and guys like Paul and Tony are going to be there to make that happen for you. Gents, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Hope you have a great week out on the WAS. We're going to change gears just a little bit here at this point. We are going to turn our attention for a moment or two toward Cisco Investments. Cisco is turning its enormous power and capability into these great opportunities for innovation, meeting the demands of the future. Cisco Investments, it's a premier corporate investor organization within Cisco. It's got a really powerful mission. How do we empower the next generation of disruptive startups? Cisco Investments is worldwide. It's been around for a number of years, and Rob Boyd is hanging out right on the other side of the studio. I can see him right across the way. And you've got a relative passel full of guests over there. It's not just one or two. You've got a committee there to work with you, Rob.
I do, but we're going to parcel them out in a very professional manner. And I tell you, what excited me about this particular topic is because I don't get to talk about it very much. Here we're talking both strategy and investments, things that go hand in hand. But really we're talking about things that represent what's that next step, what's that glimpse into where we think the market's going, what the market's telling us. It's a way of sticking our toe in the water and helping good ideas grow, from what I understand. But we're going to learn more about that in just a moment. And I've got a couple of very special guests. First, I'd like to introduce Hilton Romanowski, right?
Hilton Romanski.
Romanski, I'm so sorry. I knew, I said I wasn't going to say last names for that very reason, and then I went and I did it. And your title, to make sure we get it right.
Chief Strategy Officer at Cisco.
Chief Strategy Officer. And on the investment side, we have Nitish, right?
That's right.
And welcome, thank you. It's so hard to shake hands at that distance.
Well, I'll reach over. How's
Oh
that?
wow, hey, I didn't know you could reach that well. That's really quite good. So let me ask you, I'll start with you, Hilton. First of all, just as a level set, you just were in the keynote. What's resonating in terms of the direction being set? You're listening to Rowan and David. What jumped out at you?
I think the key few things that came across is, number one, the focus on the future. Obviously there's a lot of innovations happening for today. There's a lot of working with our customers and our partners to go on their journey, but really defining what the future looks like. And a lot of that was what Rowan had talked about along with David. I think the second thing was the ability for us to really lay the foundation for driving towards that future. The fact that we've got innovation across our build, buy, partner, invest, and co-develop capability to go and drive that. And we talked about a lot of those examples during the course of the keynotes. And of course, I think this idea of a secured, intelligent network. And I think all these things together are critical aspects of how we're going to lead the future in terms of the industry and how we're going to cover our customers and future-proof them as they move through their own journeys.
Well, let me ask you, just playing off that, how, especially when you're as Chief Strategy Officer, that sounds really simple. That sounds like you know exactly what you're going to be doing each day. No, obviously it sounds like being able to effectively decide how we're going to do those things, where those next moves are, where are we putting our investments. Is that something that comes out of your office? How do we drive this kind of growth?
I mean, I think Cisco has a very, very differentiated way by which to execute our strategy. And if you think about the areas that we're going after, those 5 pillars that we talked about during the course of the keynote, the network, security, data, the experience of the customer, and ultimately being able to drive a multi-cloud view of the world, the 5 things that we then implement to be able to drive those are our ability to always build the best possible technologies in the world, to acquire companies that are doing amazing things and bringing great talent onto our platform, being able to partner deeply, whether it's with a Google or an Apple, to be able to deliver great solutions to the end customer that nobody else can. Investments, which we're going to talk a little bit about here, our ability to invest literally billions of dollars into the most interesting, cutting-edge, disruptive technologies that are out there, and be there with a seat at the table to be able to help influence how those play out. And then of course the ability to co-develop across all of that.
So I think you I'm looking at my next question in here, and it's talking about kind of elaborating on investments, and so you may have answered part of that in there I think already, but obviously the notion of where we invest is about making a certain level of a decision about where things are going next. Is there more to elaborate from an investment and how that ties to strategy?
Well, it's a pretty broad portfolio that we have. And I think if you look at the overall investment levels that we've got about $2 billion of capital in the marketplace today. We're invested in over 120 companies all around the world, so it's a global portfolio, much of that here in Europe. 45 venture capital firms, so these are investors that we are invested in that go out and invest in hundreds of more companies. So we see a lot.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. So it really has an exponential effect to a certain extent.
Exactly, and it gives us insights into some of the most important emerging trends that we have the ability to touch, feel, influence, and bring onto our partnership portfolio and platform. So things like AI, things like IoT, software, next generation data center solutions, these are all represented in our portfolio, and we have the ability not just to impact the way these technologies are disrupting and evolving in the market, but bring those technologies and those companies to our customers and to our partners for their benefit, which is evident here. We have 12 companies in our portfolio here at Cisco Live in Barcelona.
I got a pavilion, right? And people can meet them and ask questions and understand better. And I like learning because again, it's cutting edge. It's really it's stuff we don't often get to play with, even inside Cisco, where I'm always dealing with a lot of new technologies. Because as a company, we're constantly innovating. But this represents another edge that I find fascinating, and I want to talk to you more about how to get them on TechWise TV. But Hitesh, I want to ask you. So how in your area, how is this affecting? How are you driving that connectivity with partners and customers and such like that?
Fair question. And given what we heard today in the keynote, right? The pace of change is so brisk that everybody, regardless of what part of the ecosystem you come from, is looking to keep pace with it.
Yeah.
And we take a look at the innovation at Cisco from 5 different angles, right? We've got the build, which is our products being built. We've got the buy, the acquisitions. We've got the invest, which we're talking about here. And we've also got the co-develop and partner. The investment side of the house, with this broad portfolio of about 130 investments, 45 LP positions, gives our partners and customers an amazing opportunity to keep pace with that change. But how do you get that close to our partners and customers is the question. That's what my team and I are trying to solve for on a day in, day out basis. We do that 3 different ways. Events like this.
Right.
So you've got about 15,000 people walking the floors. We've got 12 portfolio companies on the show floor, which now have an opportunity to meet with those partners and customers and give them a sense for the disruptive innovation that they're driving. That's one.
Okay.
We do that both internally at Cisco, but also externally. While we're here in Barcelona, there are 6 other portfolio companies at the Global Corporate Venture Capital Summit in Monterey, California.
There's too much going on.
That are meeting with customers and partners over there, right? So we focus on events. We also focus one-on-one on certain customer opportunities. So you might have a large financial or a large healthcare customer that's looking to take advantage of some of the innovation that's represented by these portfolio companies. So we'll bring them in to an executive briefing, and we'll put the IT teams from those companies together with the executives and leaders from these portfolio companies to help solve a problem or go capture an opportunity. We're also doing that, by the way, Rob, with our partners. So it's not just limited, the exposure to this innovation is not limited just to our customers. Several of our partners have taken advantage of this access as well, and have either brought those companies in or are testing them out in their labs, or have established joint go-to-market opportunities and closing revenue together.
I want to bring in a couple of additional guests, and thank you for that, because actually, I like the matchmaking opportunity that it feels like we bring all the right people to the party to make it the best party ever, in a really loose extent, if I may be so. So as we open up wide here, I want to introduce a couple of other people. Now, I'm going to make sure I don't mess up names. Ignacy?
Yes.
Is that correct? And you're with Worldsensing, I understand. And then you're also, and you, Klaus, you're with Cohecity, correct? Yes. So you guys represent your 2 of many portfolio companies, as we term it, and so you're here. So let me start with you, Ignacy. Tell me, what does Worldsense do, and what is it you're getting out of this visit here with us at Cisco Live?
Yeah, sure. Well, Worldsensing is an IoT company that we deliver operational intelligence solutions in different markets like mobility, security, and infrastructure, critical infrastructure management. We deliver sensors, networks, and analytics to help our clients to manage their operations in a more efficient way through actionable insights. Today we have deployments in all the continents, and more than 400 networks are managed by our partners in critical assets like the top 26 mines in the world, in cities like Bogota, in Barcelona. So we help them to make their cities or their operations much more efficient.
So you guys really specialize in doing things different from a sensor perspective and meeting the needs of, it sounds like a lot of utilities, governments, a lot of new areas, but then you're taking that same data in and you're also working on innovating in the areas of how do we crunch that data and make something useful out of it?
Yeah,
it sounds like, is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's what we do, and so it's not only about capturing the data, but it's like making this data usable for the clients with this vertical knowledge, and that's what we are good at.
Okay, well, thank you for that. It's a hot area. Now, Klaus, I understand you guys at Cohecity are working on solving some unique storage issues, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. We are focused and revolutionizing the second tier of storage, where the customers typically have up to 80 or more percent in kind of dark or cold data. And the last 20 years they built out some kind of islands or some kind of legacy technologies in this case. And with that, this is a problem to really focus on. So for sure, the first thing you have in mind is backup and restore, but there's also kind of file shares and file services which are unstructured data, which is growing tremendously over the time. It's also object stores the customer built out for some special purposes. It's everything which is then on test staff, where you also need to have decent copies of data in this case, and a lot of analytics, which are additional islands which are happening there. And as the name says, Cohecity, we bring everything together. It's in one big data store. It's web scale technology and allows you to be on-premise as well as in the cloud seamlessly and have a real interesting hyper-converged or a hybrid kind of combination to drive this forward and solve a real customer problem of unstructured data and get a handle on that in this case.
So that's you both are obviously in growing areas, because I can't imagine that there's an endpoint that you could see where this doesn't begin to add value, especially when I think about data silos and as such being created, I never used to think I'd need a container store, if you're familiar with that chain. Like, it's because we have too much stuff, and as we create more and more data and we realize how inefficient we're being or sloppy with our data, how much money we're wasting or so many different areas, and you guys are bringing some interesting ways to address that. And sensors, oh my gosh. Yeah, we're in the sensor economy. You guys have to find smart people like this that are building companies and executing on great ideas. I don't even know how you begin doing that, because I would think that that there's a lot of smart businesses out there. This is just 2 of our portfolio companies. What is most important for us to remember coming out of something like this?
What you've seen here is just an example of what we think are the bleeding edge technologies that are out there that are going to define our future. And the reason why we do this work is because we need to have access and have discussions with some of these leaders, entrepreneurs and founders who are going to help our customers and ourselves move closer to the future. Our effort around Cisco Investments was launched just a few years ago, although we've been investors since 1993, right? So if you think about it, we've been investors in the market as long as we've been acquirers, and I think people know us very well for our acquisition vehicle. But a few years ago, we decided to say to ourselves and to the marketplace, hey, we're open for even a broader leg of business around the investment work. And so we launched Cisco Investments really as a way to put more focus and attention on what we do with the companies that we're engaged with. So trying to build more proof of concepts together, going to market together.
Almost like an incubation type thing, is that fair, or is that a mischaracterization?
We participate at all stages, the very early stage of our investment cycle, but also the late stage, and our sweet spot really is where technologies are together with actual businesses that can develop and deliver a product or an outcome to a customer. So we're in it from end to end, if you think about it. So we build great things, we certainly partner, we acquire, but we also have this ability to touch the future and to engage with some of these great companies that are going to define our customers and our partners in years to come.
I find this fascinating. I wish we had more time to talk. Hold that thought. Thank you very much, by the way. And Hitesh, I'm going to end with you here for just a moment. So you guys have a pavilion where we can meet with Worldsense, we can meet with Cohecity and others that you have here. And again, that's still a subsection, because you mentioned you've got people in Monterey.
We have 12 amazing companies here.
Yeah,
we
need to find the other ones too.
And please show up and you'll see them right there. And we're also getting ready for Melbourne, Cisco Live Melbourne and Cisco Live Orlando. So if you can't make this one, certainly try to make those. And if you can't be there, go to ciscoinvestments.com online. Every publicly disclosed investment is available for people to look through. And certainly try and follow us on Twitter, which is a great way to keep pace with all the updates we send out, at @Cisco_invest.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Klaus, Ignacy, Hitesh, Hilton. Guys, you are awesome. Thank you for all.